Got it. There you go. Okay, restart mga 1 minute. Okay, I'm Kai. I've been with camp since 2020. I was an HS ambassador when I started out, and then I became part of the internals team, and then now I'm the college fair manager. Watch out for that next week. We have universities like Northwestern, Notre Dame, Waseda, all of that fun stuff that you can check out. Next, I applied for college in the online 2020 season. So that was kind of not fun because, yeah, we were the guinea pigs for a lot of things, like the local universities scrapping the sets. We were the first ones to not do them. And then, yeah, you can see some of my pain there in the picture. And then, yeah, my schools, I went from Poveda and then to Pisay, and then now I'm in UC Berkeley. Yes, I love them, and I hope that I can share what I went through with y'all today. Yeah, up season is very much in hindsight, even if it happened in like 2020. So, yeah, I still remember some stuff, kind of don't. But if you have any questions at any point during the talk, you can drop them in the Q&A and we will get to those later. Yeah, there's so much to take in. I remember when I was applying. So I hope we can demystify some of that stuff today. Okay, let's jump right into it. So the first thing you're probably doing right now is choosing schools. There's a lot, like literally all the other countries in the world, even the local universities. Like it's a lot to take in. And sometimes they throw words at you that you might not understand. So these are some stuff you might see in your college search that might be confusing. So first, regarding standardized tests, I've seen a lot of these questions also in our previous sessions. So because of COVID, most schools now have adopted policies that are test optional or test blind. So they fall into one of those two categories. So they're pretty self-explanatory. For test optional schools, your scores, if you submit them, may be a factor. But again, it will definitely not be the only one. As for test blind, they do not consider test scores at all. So even if you submit them, they shouldn't like, you know, consider them because that's what they tell everybody. So yun nga. Before COVID, like during my application season, um, a lot were still test required and in the application cycles before me because we could easily take them here lang in Manila or sometimes I think we have even regional test centers. Pero ngayon, a teeny tiny advantage of COVID among all the other disadvantages is that schools no longer like you they no longer like reduce your entire being to a single number. That's like 1600 or something. But yeah, we love more standardized holistic approaches and that's that. Another thing that you might be able to look at right now is like the numbers. So when I was looking for schools, I know this was something that I looked at a lot, which is the acceptance rate of schools. Yeah, it's usually measured as like selectivity. So a lower acceptance rate, usually we'd think that it's for selective. And yeah, because it is the number of accepted people over the number of applicants. But what I would just like to emphasize is that one number never tells the entire picture. So for example, like schools can definitely offer good education even while accepting a lot of applicants. Like just because they're selective doesn't mean they have the best education and vice versa. So off the top of my head, some universities that have high acceptance rates are like Japan universities or the UC schools compared to like the Ivies. The last time I checked, maybe single digit acceptance rates. And then the UCs have like maybe 16 or 20%. And Japan's also around the 20-50 mark. So yeah, don't be intimidated by that because you can still definitely get around that. Another stat you might be able to see sometimes is the GPA percentile, or it's basically a measure of where your grades stand if placed alongside previous accepted cohorts. So yeah, for example, you see this. final admissions verdict, you should aim for the 75th percentile, which is 3.92 GPA. So if you have a GPA that's 3.92 converted, ay jiwa pala. Jiwa in Philippine, in Philippine language. Jiwa, GPA, same lang yan. So if you have a 3.92, you're most likely better than 75% of the previous accepted people, which is good. So of course, that is really far from like, a sure acceptance because like everything in the college app season, nothing is sure. But, I would be confident in my grades at least. I would know that my grades would not pull my application down. Yeah. Another thing they might show you is a yield rate. So that is the number of people that accept the offer over the number of accepted applicants because, it might not be easy to see now, but yeah, once you get accepted, syempre, you can choose to go there pa, diba? So it's not a super important stat during your application, but if in the chance that you get waitlisted, it's a good it's a good like stat to look at, and we will see why later. So yeah, those are the things that they might throw at you. Q, why do you keep raising your hand? Anyway, another thing. World rankings. Ano naman yung mga yan, di ba? Ano yung world rankings na yan? So, I admittedly fell into this trap for a solid few months because, it's a really a very convenient statistic to look at. So one look, like it's a list and you can see what the best schools are in the world. But I will also take a minute here just to say that when considering that, you also have to remember that best, like in a lot of situations, is always relative, right? So they might be best for, what do we look at? QS or Times. Like those are the agencies that put out their rankings, right? They might be the best according to their criteria, but it might not be the best for you. So let's take a look into that. Ayun. So I pulled up some of the rankings that they use. Let's look at the criteria. So right off the bat, let's see, what do we have? Yes, we can see that research and reputation play like a big factor, like that 30% and that 20%. Yeah, the research citations and stuff. Also reputation, which is kind of hard to quantify. But anyway, I guess those are relevant for things like, future opportunities or employability in the future. But it definitely doesn't tell you about like other things that relate to maybe the experience in that university. Those things you can probably better gauge from, attending information sessions or, talking to people that are still there. So yeah, let's see. These are things that might matter to you more than it matters to like QS and Times. Like I highlighted the student staff ratio. That's like if a small class size matters to you, so you can talk to your prof more easily, or the international diversity. They only place 5% in their rankings on that, their proportion of international students and international staff. So if you value like a diverse international community, that isn't factored too much in the rankings. So what is all of this to say? So yun nga, it's definitely a convenient statistic. It's maybe a good place to start your college search on, but it shouldn't be like a main deciding factor in what colleges to consider applying. Yun lang naman. Numbers. Okay, number 2, application deadlines. So yeah, I applied to schools in the US and Asia, the US in particular, like to throw a lot of acronyms around that I did not understand right off the bat. So those are the said acronyms. So if you've encountered that, let's jump right into it. What do they mean? So EA is basically, it stands for early action. So you choose that deadline if you're interested in a school and you want to show them that. So schools like Notre Dame, which we have in our college for next plug, and Georgetown. So usually mga, kailan ba yung mga early action deadlines? Mga November ata during my cycle. So yeah, you choose that deadline to show that you're interested in a school, and they reward you with like marginally higher acceptance rates. So some people choose to take advantage of that, and they choose to, write their essays early, get their like letters of recommendation in a month earlier than everyone else because they want to take advantage of that. REA, or restrictive early action, is like a special kind of EA. So a lot of selective schools do this. Wait, I have a slide. There you go. Like Stanford and Harvard. It's called restrictive because you can only apply to one REA school. So you can apply to only Stanford or only Harvard under the early deadline if you choose REA. For your early action, pwede multiple. So recap. For example, gusto mo mag Notre Dame and Georgetown, parehong early. Pwede yun. Kung gusto mo mag Stanford early, Stanford lang or Harvard lang. Hindi pwede ring mix. So kung gusto mong early na parehong Stanford and Georgetown, hindi pwede yun. So yeah, restrictive is just they're special. They want to be special. You only apply to them early. So you better be very, very interested in one of those schools if you go choose REA. Okay, ED naman. ED stands for early decision, and it's a binding agreement to enroll if accepted. So yung mga schools na may ganyan are like U Chicago and Hopkins. I think Penn also. Anyway, yeah. So minsan may dalawang deadlines din siya. So it's just one after the other, ED1 and ED2. Iba lang yung deadlines, but the characteristic of ED, which is early decision, is it's a binding agreement with the exception of finance. So I think if you apply to an ED school under ED and then you apply for financial aid, and then for example, ma-accept ka, yay, congrats. Pero hindi ka binigyan ng fin aid, I think that is a reason to terminate the agreement. I did not go through that, so I'm not completely sure, but yes, as far as I know, that's what happens. Pero yan, basically, I would approach ED the same that I would do REA. Like I need to be really interested in a school because it's a commitment. So yeah. So yun nga, those are the three kinds of US schools as early rounds. So you people choose to like, stress themselves early because they want to take advantage of higher acceptance rates. But, if that fails, you don't need to do that also because all schools have regular decisions. So RD. So the deadline for US is usually mga, I think New Year's. New Year's. So imagine mo yung fireworks pumuputok na doon. Tapos, ako magde-deadline, magka-cram ng essay, ganon. Yes, it was very stressful. And I remember my RD deadline. Not fun. Doomsday if you apply to a lot of places, which I did. But yun nga, since it's your last shot to apply, just take it. You only do your undergrad applications once. Kachow. Examples of that nga are all schools that offer the early rounds. Of course, they have a regular round. Tapos, like, I put also UC there. Kasi UC doesn't have early decisions and early actions. They only have one deadline for everybody, which is the regular decision. So, ayun. Again, if I am going fast or if you need to clarify anything, just drop any questions there in the Q&A. Yeah, yun lang naman. Okay, application process naman tayo for Asian schools. I also applied to a few. What I found is that they don't really have much of those acronyms unless they're mga affiliated with yung mga, Yale and US, yung mga collaborations between Asia and US schools. But they're usually more straightforward. So that is a screen grab from my friend's school. They are going to present on financial aid tomorrow if you want to catch that too. Pero yeah, as you can see there, there's just 4 stages, straightforward. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. Na iba-iba lang yung deadlines if you want to apply for that school to make an APU in Japan. And then there's like stage 1, stage 2. Other schools that I've seen are also just, they just say apply for fall semester, this is the deadline. Apply for spring semester, this is the deadline. Or minsan isang deadline lang talaga. So yeah, the ones that I've seen from Asia, at least, are a little more less confusing and more straightforward, which I appreciate them for. Itong naman si UK, I didn't go through this process, but my friend helped me out and explained to me some terms. So we are going to go through them a little bit. So the UCAS or UCAS is the name of the application platform. So it streamlines the app process for multiple UK schools, just like the Common App does for the US. And then, for example, you go through all of that na, you're done applying, you get your offers. And once you do that, there is a difference between the UK and US schools, and which basically comes down to conditional and unconditional. So sometimes UK schools like to offer conditional offers. So it basically means you have to meet certain requirements that you don't have yet during the time of the application. So for example, they need to see a certain grade in your senior year grades, or you need to take a test that you didn't submit yet at the time of the application. So they'll give you an offer, and as long as you meet their conditions, you get the spot. May unconditional din naman, which is similar to the US nga, na they just go with whatever you've already presented in the application. You have a spot or you don't, regardless of those grades and whatever. So again, with the offer choices, you also will eventually choose two only. Even if you apply to many UK schools, in the end, you will only have the ability to reply to two offers. Your first choice would be the firm, and your second choice would be the insurance. So, parang top choice mo yung firm, tas if hindi mo ma-meet yung conditions ng firm, edi titingnan nila na yung insurance. Sana meet mo yung conditions ng insurance. Basta ganun, parang top two choices mo. It's called firm and insurance. But, you can also go through that the entire process and end up without a slot. You still have a last chance through clearing, which is they list yung mga unfilled course slots dun sa UCAS, UCAS. Ayun. And then you can apply for those diretso on the platform. Yay! Yeah, those are basically the application process and deadlines for the different countries that you can apply to. Okay, number 3, money. So yeah, whether we like it or not, we all know money is a big factor in choosing what schools to apply to, right? It can make or break. Even if you get an offer, minsan you can't go because they don't offer enough money. So yeah, there are also terms that they throw around here. So how schools consider your financial need. So US schools, they divide their like consideration processes into two, which is need blind and need aware. So need blind basically says that they look at your application profile first and money doesn't matter to them. So if they accept you, it'll only be based on your application. And if they accept you, edi good, bibigyan ka ng FinAid. Pero yung mga need aware schools, meanwhile, they consider finances when admitting people. So it might be if you need a lot of money, it might be a deterrent, or yeah, so it affects. I think it's just important to note na it's not an indicator of prestige. Sometimes it's just how their policy has been for a long time. So how can I answer that? The Ivy schools, some of them, like, they're all cool, right? They're all internationally recognized, but some of them are need blind, some of them are need aware. That's not to say that need aware schools don't give out scholarships. I know people who have partial aid in need aware schools. It's just these terms are just basically like an indicator of how the consideration process works and if they factor finance into that. Schools outside the US can also, be factored into these. It's either you consider finances or you don't, right? Like, that's just how it works. But I don't think they use these specific need blind, need aware acronyms. So check na lang sa specific schools nyo kung factor ba ang financial need sa pag-admit sa inyo. Okay, and aside from that, when you do ask for FinAid, they also put a lot of requirements and forms in front of you that you need to fill out. Oh my god, I remember doing this. Okay, so what can you do to, show them that you have financial need, or what can you do to like bypass some of those fees? So one thing is a fee waiver. It's available for some stages of the app process, like taking the SAT or submitting the common app. So it's supported by your guidance counselor usually. So kaibiganin niyo na sila kung gusto niyo ng fee waiver. Kasi importante sila So they basically attestation that the waiver. The application fee to the school mismo is waived. Sometimes on to a certain number of takes for the SAT, for example, di ka na kailangan magbayad. Yung mga ganun. So fee waivers are good. They're great. Oh no, my internet's unstable. Okay, laban. CSS profile is the financial aid form that you need to fill out. It's hosted by College Board, and it's what many US schools accept, and some schools outside the US din naman. So doon you basically describe your your living situation, yung mga ganun. They ask you about your income, if your parents have income, yung mga ganun. Then you upload files, and then they use that profile to determine yung aid package mo if you apply. A part of what they ask you to submit for that CSS profile are tax returns. So it's a BIR issued document, which basically tells them how much income you get. Even if it's not under CSS, for example, you apply to Canadian or European schools, yung mga individual application, FinAid application platforms nila, they will most probably ask you for tax returns. So if you're thinking about applying for financial aid, that's one thing you should start thinking about, getting from whoever has income in your family, because it's proof that you need like the money that they're asking you to give. So yes, very common thing that they ask for in your CSS profile. Yun. Applying for FinAid is admittedly one of the more time-consuming parts of the app process. Pero you got this. Once you do all of that, once you're done, it's one step closer to getting the bag. Yun. Okay, another thing is you can check also how schools give out scholarships. So they can be classified into two, need-based and merit-based, and it's basically self-explanatory. So schools give you money if you show them that you need it with the forms you submit, like the CSS and all of that. But schools might also give you merit-based based on like your application lang. So yun nga, I've discussed na how to apply for the need-based ones with those financial profiles, submitting your tax returns and all of that. Yung merit-based naman, usually yung buong cohort yung kino-consider, and you don't need to separately apply for that. For example, UC schools have this thing called the Regent Scholarship. They don't give international students need-based because they're a public university. But yun nga, everyone, even international students, are considered for those Regents merit-based scholarship. A local example I can think of is Ateneo. When I did it, they gave out director's list scholarships where the entire applying cohort is considered. You don't need to separately apply for that. They do give out need-based grants, but yung mismong director's list scholarship, I would classify that as a merit-based award. Yun. And finally, I think this is part of my last part of slides. When the results come out in kailan ba? It depends very much, but for you guys, it will be in early 2023. Tama. Or kung mag-apply kayo early to US schools, December 2022. Oh my God, ang lapit na. Excited for you. Anyway, so fast forward, and there are still some things that can curveball you because you might not see an accepted or a rejected. May mga ek-ek pa sila. So may in-between yan. So minsan, they will defer you. So that's another possible result from early rounds, which means that you will be considered during the regular one. So even if you applied early, means that they don't want to make a firm decision yet on your application, and they will say, we will put you in the pool of regular applicants. It's important to note also that different schools have different deference or rejection rates. So for example, here, Stanford, you can read that. But basically, Stanford is known to only defer a few people in the early round. Yan, 593 of 6,000. Pero for schools like Harvard, they defer a lot of people. Like they don't reject, outright reject, and they defer like 3/4 of their cohort. So those deferred people's chances aren't necessarily higher in the regular round. So basically, what I'm trying to say is not all defers are created equal. So Stanford likes to reject a lot of people. They rejected me early. And then, but other schools like Harvard and Yale, I think Yale, they also defer a lot of people in the early round. Yeah. Okay, and then once you're in the regular round, the more common in between result is a wait list. So yun nga, you didn't quite make it into the number of slots they've allotted for their incoming batch. Pero you still did well. I mean, you do well even if you get rejected. It's their loss if you get rejected anywhere. So yun nga. But still, if you're waitlisted, it means you still have a good chance. No, not a good chance. You still have a chance if other people don't accept their slot. So yun yung sinasabi ko kanina about yield rate. So if a school has low yield rate, aka marami silang ina-accept but not a lot of those people enroll in that school, maraming chance yung may waitlist, di ba? Kasi, you fill in those people that that declined their slot. So if you get waitlisted, you may want to consider writing a loci if the school accepts, which is a letter of continued interest. So that's a letter that you write to maybe the dean of admissions or your regional counselor or something that is sometimes accepted to indicate continued interest if waitlisted or deferred. You basically tell them na I'm still interested in this school, please accept me off the waitlist, that kind of thing. But like everything in the college app season, there's nothing guaranteed. Your school might not even accept low size, but if they do, it may or may not put you at an advantage over others on the list. So yun, those are the stuff that you can do if not accepted or rejected. Okay, pause muna tayo. Kasi I know that was a lot to take in. I took longer than I would have liked to preparing that presentation because I had to remember what all of those stuff meant. So yeah, that's probably a lot to take in. So, grab snacks, grab water if you want. And if you have any lingering questions, put them in the Q&A. And maybe me or someone from the camp team that is moderating right now can help you. Okay. Ako rin magpapause. Wait. Solid, solid 30 minutes. Talk. Okay. I think I can wrap this up na. I hope that I was able to explain some of the stuff. If you were confused about that, if you saw it on the site and you were confused, hopefully that shed some light on the process. This is going to be you in the future because you'll be me in a few months or a few years. All of it will be in hindsight. So I researched all those terms. I chose all my schools. I had that whole emotional roller coaster where it's like, oh, I wanted to go abroad, and then suddenly, wait, I don't want to go abroad. I like the Philippines. And suddenly, oh wait, never mind, I want to go abroad. All of that emotional roller coaster happened, and yeah, it's all in hindsight now, and you guys will be okay. After all is said and done, and the dust settles, you will end up where you're meant to be. So whether that be here in the Philippines or anywhere in the world that you want to go. But I know right now that's not you yet, because right now you are right there smack in the middle of the application process. All I can do is wish you good luck and let you know that camp is with you. So we're rooting for you, and thank you for listening. That ends my information se- session. I will get to the Q&As after. Okay. I will read. Okay, let's get to it. If you have any more questions, you can contact me there. Let's get to it. May we ask for a copy of the presentation? It's recorded, and we'll post the recording on our website, I think, after the conference is over. Yes. So, yeah. Do you want the slides though? Like the slides? But anyway, recording, at least you'll have fun. Is applying for early action convenient for a student whose priority is to receive scholarships? What if I applied early action, then got accepted but without a scholarship? Yes, early action has no binding like agreement. REA and EA, like, choose to do what you want. You can accept, you can reject when you get the offer. Yun nga, but I think I answered this also for early decision. So if you get accepted in ED, but they don't give you FinAid, I think that's a reason to terminate or to choose to not enroll. Is there a, wait, answer live done. Is there a UK university that accepts senior high school diploma as a requirement for undergrad admissions? I am not well versed on that. Baka pwedeng sagutin yung mga nag-apply for the UK there. Which is easier to get financial aid from, need blind or need aware schools? That's hard. I applied to both and I didn't get from either. So it depends talaga. I think it's not an indicator of how easy it is to get scholarships, because syempre they have like different allocations, right? They, some schools can give away more money, some schools can't. um I felt more confident though applying for FinAid for Need Blind, because nga they don't consider it as a part. Pero yun nga, like, for example, Need Blind at Harvard, like regardless of financial aid, it's hard to get into Harvard. So it's not necessarily easier for Need Blind. But yun nga, if you want to parang feel confident na they don't consider finance as part of yung parang ano mo, yung application mo, then Need Blind. But there are some need aware schools na yun nga, diba? They still give aid. It's just a part of the consideration. If I take the SAT for 2 times or more, is the first exam free? Oh, I'm not sure. I only took it once, and yeah, I was able to get a fee waiver for that. I'm not sure. Ask. Wait, would it be on College Board? Maybe. Maybe it's on the College Board FAQ. What is the difference between SAT and TOEFL exams, and what should I prioritize? Right off my head, I only took SAT and not TOEFL. TOEFL is for English, so I think it's used to demonstrate fluency. And then SAT is math and English, so they have arithmetic sections and then they have reading sections. So it depends on what the school you're applying to asks for. What should I prioritize? Depending nga sa school on what they ask for. Yung SAT nga, if they're test blind, edi wag ka na mag-SAT. Yung TOEFL, I'm not sure which ones applied that. Which ones require that. But maybe my friend can answer you, because we also have a talk on standardized testing in a few days. So if you still, if my part of my answer wasn't clear or something, you still have questions, maybe you can attend that. Next, does the school where you come from affect your application? I'm gonna say everything affects your application. It's just we don't know in what ways, because we're not, admissions officers, or yeah, we don't know how much it affects it. But I'm sure it does, because it's like a part of your it's a part of your like life story, and they will be for example, I'm sure they, what do you call it, parang check if there's like previous alumni from your school who enrolled in their institution, yung mga ganon. But yeah, I can't give a clear one because I don't know how it affects your application. I should mark all of these as I answer them. Teka, give me 1 minute. Done. I didn't answer that. So yeah. Next, what if you don't have much academic accomplishments or competitions attended? Do you still have a good chance of getting offered financial aid? Uh, that's a very loaded question. Kasi, uh, do you still have a good chance of getting offered financial aid? I mean, yun nga, kung merit-based, edi siguro less chances. But if you have like other things that pull up your application and you end up getting accepted, tapos yung scheme ng pagbigay ng aid dun sa school mo is need, is need-based, di pwede pa rin. I think yung academic accomplishments and competitions attended are more talaga on making your application stand out, and sometimes that's not, like, that doesn't affect yung financial aid application mo. Yung financial aid application mo, I'm talking about need-based, is just talaga yung income mo, yung income ng parents mo, yung mga ganun. What's the average amount I spent for applying to schools abroad, specifically in the US, without a fee waiver? Fee waiver for college, for Common App, is I think up to 20 schools. So you can apply, if you get one, you can apply up to 20 schools for free, as far as I know. Yeah. But per school is like $60, I think, 70-ish. From the 50 to 100 range, they vary. So, yeah. Nakasabi naman sa Common App yun. Like right on the dashboard. So it'll tell you right off the bat. And if it's too much, then you can just also stop your application there. So yun, mga 70, I would say, per school. That's why I get a fee waiver. 70 times 20 is like $1,400. Gone. You don't need to pay that. Okay. Hi, does being deferred decrease your chances of being accepted in the regular decision? No, dapat. Kasi you're basically being considered as a normal applicant in the regular decision. Okay. What's my course in school? I am from UC Berkeley, and I came in wanting to do bio, molecular bio, but because an advantage of the US college system is that you don't need to declare your major. Like here, diba, you apply, for example, Ateneo and UP, you apply for a course derecho. In the US, you basically say, I'm undecided, and then you decide at the end of your second year or during your second year, mga ganon. But your first year is usually you can explore different course choices pa. So I came in wanting bio, but now I'm gonna double major in bio and data science. Fun. To clarify, for UC schools, they are test blind. Is that correct? Let me check. I submitted mine, but yun nga, during COVID, nag-shake up lahat ng policy. If their website says it's test blind, then they're test blind. Subject tests? Dapat wala ng subject tests kasi SAT discontinued it. But let's see. Am I in affiliate at UC Berkeley? No, I'm not. Sad. Kasi, siya, yun nga, public university siya. So, I hope to get the regents, but I'm not good enough, apparently. If you want need-based for UCs, you have to be a California resident or a US resident to be considered for FAFSA, which is their federal aid scheme. Many schools don't allow financial aid for international schools, for international students, I would assume. Are there any other scholarship channels aside from merit-based ones? Yes, private entities sometimes give away scholarships But they're more like yun nga, since they're separate entities, they're usually not consolidated into a single platform. So you need to look for those talaga. One that I can think of is the Breakthrough Prize, which a lot of sci people have entered before. So you make like this short video that explains like science concepts, and then if you win that, I think you get scholarships for wherever you go to university. Yeah. Is it still risky not to take the SAT if you're gonna enroll? If it's optional? No, because it's optional. So I will, at least my, this might not apply to you, but my mindset is I would, for example, I'm applying this year. If I applied this year not to test optional schools, yung sa akin may mga test required pa eh. If I'll take the SAT, and kung maganda yung score ko, edi ibibigay ko. Pero kung hindi, like yun nga, since it's optional, they shouldn't, they shouldn't parang put your application into like the less likely pile kasi nga, just because wala kang test, because it's optional. How did I handle rejection? In the online setting, not that easy, honestly. Kasi yun nga, I'm just in my room, I'm seeing those letters, and it's like, oh well. I think the first one was the pinakamasakit because I applied early nga for my first choice and then I got rejected there. So I guess it was just yun nga, telling myself that it wasn't meant to be there. As Ate Jill said in our keynote, rejection is redirection. So I could have done well maybe in that school, and I think about that, or I thought about it before, but I know I can also do well in some other place, just in a different way. So yeah. Oh my god, where can we find the passcode to watch the recordings? Website. In the future. Greater impact on extracurricular activities, participating competitions, or organizations. Depende talaga yan. I don't think they put a specific parang like greater weight on any of them. Yeah. What schools did I apply to? A lot of the really like hard to get into ones, because I was thinking like, at the end, UP aren't too bad either. Like, they're amazing schools too. What schools did I apply to? This is not the full list, but Stanford, Berkeley, MIT, Hopkins, yung mga ganun. Yeah. I will also use that as a plug, because if you are still confused on what schools to apply to, attend our college fair. 7 to 12 midnight from July 18 to 24. What's your stat score beside Jiwa? I forgot my Jiwa, honestly. For SAT, I got 1570. I forgot my beside Jiwa. I'm so sorry. Have you participated in internships while in 12th grade? I did not do internships in grade 12. I did research projects and I attended yung mga online courses on, I think, molecular oncology, neuroscience. Yeah, yung mga ganun. Okay, I will try my best to go through all of this, but since we have a talk at 5, I'll probably end at 4:55. Yun lang naman. Okay. I'm an incoming senior planning to take SAT for the first time in October. Oh, I'm not sure. Will I still have a chance to catch up on EA? I forgot when scores come up. I think you will. Wait, I'm actually not sure. Siguro you can check when the scores come out. I remember mine came out mga 2 weeks after, no, 3 weeks after I took my SAT. I'm not sure kung nagbago this season. But based on that, then should be yes. But yun nga, kung EA, probably hindi test required. So if you choose not to submit it, that's okay too. So you should be able to catch up. How do you identify safety or target schools without your SAT scores? GPA siguro would be a good, what do you call that? A good indicator. Aside from loans or financial aid packages at the university, what are other resources to get scholarships? Yun nga, I said kanina, some private organizations give. How did you review for the SAT? The tests on College Board were really helpful. They have a list of like 10 universities. As universities, they have a list of like 10 full length SATs that you can like check on your computer and time yourself na parang full 3 hours. And then you take it and then you um you take it and check your score. So I did that to get my benchmark scores, and then to improve on the parts, like I focused on the parts that I wasn't good at, and then I improved those using Khan Academy. Very, very good resource. Uh high recent grades make up for low grades from 2 3 years ago. Yes. One of our panelists yesterday basically said that junior year grades are very important. So junior grade 11. So let's see, schools, as far as I know, like to see upward trends in your grades. So if they're improving, then yeah, good. How does a double major work? What things do we need to consider? Syempre, yung kakayanin mo. So if the workload is enough, then sorry, if the workload doesn't, kill you, then it's good. Something good about my double major kasi is some of my classes overlap. So it's not like taking the full load of MCB, which is bio, and the full load of data sci. There are some overlapping classes, so which makes it a little bit easier for me. Any tips about writing your college essay? Siguro contact me na lang. Yeah. Is the common app fees different from the colleges you applied to? Yeah. Common app fees. I don't think they were common app fees. I think it's just every school you apply to has a fee on the common app. And then I think they take away from that. When did you start preparing for college applications? We have a talk on that I think next week, a high school timeline when to start preparing. Tune in for that. UC Berkeley is your dream school. That's nice. How can you strengthen your application for UC schools? One, their essays are really good. Choose the prompts that you think represent you best, because unlike the common app essay, UC schools, you write multiple shorter essays, right? I think it was 4 250 word ones. So choose the ones that you think you can write about and that showcase like different parts of yourself. That applies din naman for common app. It's just more for the UCs kasi you can write multiple essays. Yun lang naman. Aside from the Regent Scholarship, and aside from private, I am not sure. Kasi nga, they prioritize US citizens because they are a California-funded university. Taxpayer money. Can you give book recommendations for SAT? I didn't use review books. I just used the tests on College Board and Khan Academy. Advice for applying schools in Asia. Okay, I think this will be my last one. Yes, I do have a lot of friends that applied in Asia. Pero yun nga, I think their process is more grades dependent, especially here in the Philippines, right? You upload our transcripts, yung mga ganon. Yeah. Give any advice for applying schools in Asia? It's the same. Put your best foot forward, showcase like the best parts of you in the application. That's pretty much the overview of it all. What I do know about Asian schools is that you're less likely to get the application fee waived, like the upfront application fee, but Asian schools are more generous in giving aid packages, like if you get accepted. So that's one thing to think about. I think we should end it there. Yun nga, if you have any more questions, just reach me. The slide is still up. Yeah. Thank you for listening. I hope I was able to answer most of your questions and clarify most of the stuff that you were confused about. Yeah. Thanks for listening. Stay on if you want to hear Simon Lee talk about admissions trends. That's up at 5 p.m. And thank you for spending your time with me. I love all of you.